Yo, what it do, guys, and welcome back to another video. Now, today's video, we're going to try and keep this as short and sweet as we can. Bear with me, I'm going to be rambling things off, but bam, up on the screen, we've got an Augment, okay? We're going to be playing around with Frost, and we're going to be using his fourth ability, Avalanche. So we're going to be doing an offensive Avalanche build, and we're going to also be doing a defensive Avalanche build. So I'm going to show you what you can go and do if you want to play Frost in two different areas. He doesn't have to always be defense, mobile defense, whatever. You can go ahead and take a Roman one with him, and I'm going to show you how to go ahead and do that if you stick around with the video. So first things first, let's go ahead and talk about his abilities. I'm going to rattle these off as quick as I can, and thankfully what you see is what you get with Frost. All right, so it's nice and easy to go and understand. Up first is his passive. Cold status effects from Frost abilities have their duration increased by 100%. Easy peasy to go and understand. Just cold and frost synergize together. All right. Now, Frost gains 50 armor per enemy inflicted with cold status within 50 meters. I won't lie to you, at least for like a beginning player, that's not too bad. But once you start hitting Steel Path and whatnot, it's not that great. Okay, it's not that great. But anyways, we'll go and take the cold increase because again, it synergizes what he's doing, and a little bit of survival won't hurt you. All right, but don't just rely on that as your survival. So up first is his first ability, which is called Freeze. To put this simply, you basically, again, you can see inside the diagram or the GIF right here, when you go ahead and hit an enemy with your first ability, they will apply 10 stacks of cold towards them and it will instantly freeze that enemy. It's also got a little bit of an AoE around it, so it will go ahead and affect other enemies as well. But furthermore, this is mostly also used to synergize with his third ability and popping bubbles. We'll get to that in a moment. Up next is the second ability. This is called Ice Wave. Now, Ice Wave as a whole isn't really that great, so we will be subsuming this ability off. I'm not really going to cover an awful lot about this, but basically it's a little bit of damage. It's not really fantastic, so you can kind of ignore it, but we're going to be putting some utility options over this. Then we got Snow Globe, which is his third ability, really quickly here. We're going to explain a couple things about Snow Globe and how it works. So if you just bear with me, let's go ahead and show you what Snow Globe looks like and what Snow Globe does. So to go ahead and start off with, when you go and press 3, you'll be putting down a Snow Globe. Now, if you go and see it, it's also blinking. That's important. Remember that blinking, okay? So this is what the globe looks like from the outside. I believe it's affected by energy color as well. So if you change your energy color, your globe will look a little bit different, which can help you if you're playing with like other frosts or whatever, okay? When you're inside the globe, any enemy that's on the outside trying to shoot in will have to hit the globe before it hits you and any objective. So it's a very defensive kind of globe, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, however, you can shoot through the globe, okay? Nothing's gonna block you. If you're returning back to Warframe, that's gonna be new for you. In the past, you could never shoot through the globe from one side to the other. You could shoot from within, but you could never shoot through the globe completely. See how I'm hitting the wall over there? There you go, okay? So from there onwards, what Globe also does is that it can scale. I'll put the formula up on the screen here. It can get, it has innate health, but then it can scale off more. It can scale off armor, so Frost innate armor and armor bonuses. It can scale off ability strength. It can scale off absorb damage. Remember when I said pay attention to the blink in here? Can you see the blink in there? Right. Any enemy, and it has to be an enemy, not you, any enemy that shoots when it's blinking will absorb the damage and convert it into protection for more health for the globe. Kind of like Rhino's Iron Skin. If you understand that, you understand this. Okay, excellent. Now, you can also recast globes as well, and any globe that's cast inside another globe basically just adds more health to that globe. So, for example, if I do this, I've just basically made this globe stronger. Long story short, okay? Anyways, that's basically what's going on there with the globe in terms of the defensiveness of it. I won't lie to you though, and if you'd like my opinion on this, when you start hitting Steel Path, some enemies will start hitting really, really hard. Just use globe for the invulnerability that it gives you there. Like, you know, iframes and like gating, I'll put a globe down just to make sure that something's okay. And then if the globe pops, I'll use Avalanche or whatever, and I'll put another globe down. Don't rely on the globe to completely protect everything. At some point, that health is just health, okay? So enemies are going to end up scaling and do a lot of damage. Now, if there's any enemies that are hit by the globe instantly, like this, they will be instantly frozen, like so, and then they will also take a huge chunk of damage if they connect something here. Now, that's true damage. So again, I repeat that. If an enemy, when you cast the globe, is inside the globe, it will push them away from the direction of the globe, the epicenter of the globe. And then if they hit a wall or a terrain or something else like that, they'll take 50% of their maximum health as true damage. Yes, you can do some damage builds with the globe. Okay, that does go ahead and exist. So just going to let you know. Now, if the enemies weren't inside the globe, but they're going to slowly come into the globe like so, they will go ahead and take, as you can see, cold procs over time, as you can go and see there. All right, and that's basically what's going on the globe there. If you do go and shatter it with your first ability, you can see you can add a bit more cold stacks towards it. So that's what the first ability looks like. I can put that down, and I can go press 1 to go and cancel it. All right, and get rid of that globe. So you might be thinking, okay, well, why is that important, or how does that work? Well, Frost can put down a maximum of 4 globes. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and here's 4. Now, if I go and cast a 5th globe, it will replace the first globe. So you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, I don't want to replace that globe. And I know you have to manually keep track of this. I don't want to replace that globe. And I know that that globe's going to go ahead and break the moment I cast the next one. But what if I don't like this one or this one? Well, use your first ability and then go ahead and use a globe. And you can see that one stayed there, but this is a new one. Okay, you can use your first ability to try and juggle and cycle between your globes. All right. Now, if you do have globes lined up as well, your projectile of your one will kind of just basically go through them. If I go and do this, and then this, if I go and line up here, I don't actually know if this all 4, does it? There you go, right? And that's also how that works as well. But your one is just like a punch through projectile, okay? Anyways, so that's basically what's going on there with his thirds, but hopefully you learned a bit more about that. Again, defensive. Now, his 4th is Avalanche, and Avalanche is going to be the key thing that we're going to be using for this build. So let's go and explain what is Avalanche and how does Avalanche work. Thankfully, what you see is what you get. If we look inside the casting here, it's going to do 2 things. It's got 2 kind of animations towards it. The first part is he raises his fist in the air, and some ice will go ahead and drop down to the ground. Any enemies that are hit by that ice will get 6 stacks of cold. And then when he throws his arm out just before he does that, he goes and lets out a radial pulse. That radial pulse is going to apply 10 stacks of cold. Okay, so basically you're going to guarantee to freeze enemies so long as they get hit by that pulse when it comes out. Okay, just the first part of it slows them down. Now that's going to be really, really important. So furthermore, it also does armor reduction, 60%. Now that 60% is also going to be very important because we want to debuff enemies, right? Completely remove their armor, just makes it easier for us to go and kill those enemies. So up on the screen, just somewhere up on the screen now, you can go and see it's 167% ability strength to go ahead and completely remove enemies' armor in one cast, okay? But if you do go and use corrosive projection is 18% additive to your strength. Don't understand what that means, get yourself to 82% armor strip on this armor reduction, 82, then put in corrosive projection and you've guaranteed 100% armor strip in a cast straight off of the bat. All right, lovely. That's basically how that's working. So not much else to go and say there. That's what's going on. Now there is an augment that we will be using, so let's go and talk about that augment really quickly, and that is going to be Icy Avalanche. Icy Avalanche is going to go ahead and also give us overguards. Okay, allies within affinity range, doesn't even scale off range, it's affinity range, which is 50 meters base, are coated with ice that grants 60 overguard per enemy hit. Overguard increases by 20% of your armor once per enemy. Now this is very, very important because this gives us a lot of quality of life, not just to me but towards my allies, okay, in general, which is fantastic. So if you're looking for a defensive situation, not only do you have a globe that's protecting things, you're also giving overguard over towards your allies as well. It's a no-brainer, okay? And if you're roaming offensively, this is also going to go and help. So we're going to be using this. All right, that's basically about it. So now that we've covered everything that we need to go and cover there, let's go and talk about a roam build, and I'm going to try and whiz through this to go and help you guys understand what's going on and what you would take and why you would take it, okay? So up on the screen is the Avalanche roam build. This is all going to be about Frost going offensively, okay? So as you can imagine, roaming, short for roaming, you are going to be on the move. This build isn't really focused on Snow Globe, okay? It's focused on your subsumable second option and your 4th, all right? So let's go and talk about a few things. Number 1, we've got this augment, we slot it in. You might be thinking, number 2, why has he got that augment? Why didn't he talk about that at the beginning of the video? This is actually optional. You don't technically need this, but I will be saying why it synergizes with what I'm taking, and you'll kind of see how it all comes together. But you can go ahead and use this if you want to go and use it. It is not a necessity. I'll explain how it synergizes. From here onwards, what we want to go and do is get range, okay? The more enemies that can be affected with the further distance of this, the better that it is. So where's the range on that? Radius 37.5 meters. Do keep in mind that the more range that we have, the bigger the bubble as well, so keep that in mind, all right? but we want to affect as many enemies as possible, strip enemies, freeze enemies. Remember, if enemies are frozen or if they take cold damage or cold proc, what will happen is critical damage is increased to those enemies. Keep in mind the critical damage from colds, because you might see where this is going in a moment, okay? So we're going to be freezing them, we're going to be debuffing them, we're going to be armor stripping them if they have armor, and we're going to be getting Overguard. Not too bad in one cast, by the way. So from there, what we're going to be doing is Overextended is going to increase our range, Stretch is going to increase our range, and Cut and Drift is going to increase our range. Normally, you can put Prime Sure-Footed up there, but you don't need to because you've got Overguard, which is status immunity. So I don't need to put Prime Sure-Footed up here. However, this is going to go and hurt our strength. So this is important and this is key. We do want to go and hurt the strength because we want as much range as possible. But this now means subsumable options now become, unfortunately, very finicky. We now want to run, so for example, could I put Rhino's Roar in this build? I'm not going to get much out of it, am I, at 40% strength? No. So, okay, let's go ahead and fix a few things. Number one, we can go and use Precision Intensify. This adds 90% ability strength to your 4th ability. Now, that's important. Keep in mind, this reduced it by 60. So this is going to add 60 and then add 30. So your 4th ability is actually at 130% ability strength. Okay, nothing else is, but it doesn't matter. 130% ability strength, remember that. Now, if you look at the armor reduction, it's 78%. So what did I tell you guys? If you can get yourself to 82%, right? So you could run a different strength mod in here if you wanted to. If you don't want to run this, run another strength mod. And then if you go and run Corrosive Projection, I'll explain this in a moment, but you go and run Corrosive Projection, you can get your full armor strip in one cast. Or Arcane Ice Storm. Let's go and talk about that. On enemy frozen, which is guaranteed with our 4th ability, gain 2% ability strength and 2% ability duration for 50 seconds, which stacks up to 20 times. Now, all we got to go and do is freeze enemies. Now, the first couple of enemies that we tend to freeze won't really increase, it won't be like a full armor strip, but because we'll be casting Avalanche so often, within 15 seconds, the odds are I will be casting another Avalanche, okay? From here onwards, we're constantly stripping enemies as we continuously go, okay? Especially if you're running solo as well, or like you're doing a survival where there's lots of enemies coming towards you. This is so easy to go ahead and apply, all right? This allows us to drop Corrosive Projection and the strength mods to use other things in the build, okay? So I've got my guaranteed armor strip. It's gonna be in there, but yes, I need to build this up a little bit first, okay? I just need a couple of stacks. Things like 4 stacks, I can't remember, math. Anyways, so that's gonna be good. From there, we got range, so forth, whatever. Let's go and talk about a few other things. Equilibrium. Actually, let's talk about Archon Flow really quickly. Sorry, I'm a little bit unorganized. Archon Flow. You might be thinking, why has he got Archon Flow in there? If you know, you know. If you don't know, let me explain something really quickly. Now, Archon Flow as a whole is not really that great of an Archon mod. You get these from the cold missions and so forth, right? If you read what it says there, it actually says enemies killed by cold abilities have a 10% chance to drop an energy orb with a cooldown of 10 seconds. So not only do I need to kill with cold, and it has to be a cold ability, and let's be honest, I'm not killing with Avalanche. The damage that it does is less than 2k, right? So this is more of a debuffer and buffer to me. Debuffer to the enemies, buffer to me. On the off chance that I do happen to kill someone, why not? But it's a 10% chance, which as you can imagine is not great, and then it's got a 10-second cooldown. Not fantastic, but it synergizes with what we're kind of doing anyways. If you've got the capacity, throw it in. If you don't have the capacity, I promise you, once in like 1,000 casts, you may still not even see this proc. It could just be awful, because again, you still need a kill. So once in 1,000 kills, you will see a proc. I don't know how often, but the probability's there. Anyways, the cooldown doesn't help either. Right. So let's go and talk about energy as a whole. Avalanche is going to cost 100 drain. Now, what we're going to go and do, since we're going to be spamming this quite a lot, not again, we're buffing ourselves with Overguard, we're debuffing enemies, criticals, and armor strips, and freezing, and crowd control, we're going to need energy. So, because our strength is hurt, we're going to be using an ability here called Lyca's Hunt. Let me go and move myself over there. This is an ability, Lyca's Hunt, from Varuna. So we're going to be subsuming Varuna and putting her in there. Why are we putting this in here? Because it doesn't get affected by strength. If you go and read at the bottom there, the drop chance is 50%. 50% was not her. I can't buff it and I can't nerf it, which means it fits in perfectly. So how does Lycus Hunt actually work? Let's go and talk about 3 things that it does. Number 1, if you land a headshot with a ranged weapon, there's a 50% chance that you will drop an energy orb. If you go ahead and kill with a melee weapon, there's a 50% chance it will drop a health orb. Energy and health, think about what's going on there. Equilibrium. Health pickups give 110% energy. Energy pickups give 110% health. You can see how they're synergizing, and you can see how that can also synergize in what you're doing. Furthermore, let's go and read what this says. I will only, if I juggle this correctly, only need to cast this 1 time because I can increase the duration of Lycus Hunt by killing enemies affected by 5 or more status effects. So we're going to need status effects, okay? We're going to need quite a few of them. As you can see, 5 going on there. So let's take you away from this. We're going to come back to this just in a minute, but there's a lot of jumping going on here. I'm going to take you away from this, and I'm going to go and show you my companion build just really quickly and what I'm using here. So I'm going to be using the Die Rigger, and the reason why I'm going to be using the Die Rigger is because the Die Rigger can apply elements pretty easily. Now, there are other options that you can go and take. It's totally fine. If you want to run Panzer with a few other options, you can go and do that. But anyways, I'm going to be running the Hounds, whatever. I'm going to be using Die Rigger. Put this simply, if you've already watched my videos before, you know how this works, but for those who don't, I'll just go ahead and explain it as quick as I can. Arc Coil will zap up to 7 enemies within 10 meters. Remember that, 7 enemies in 10 meters. 10% chance for electric. Manifolds will now apply status effects from the weapons to preset mods. If you look at that, or look here, that is a preset mod. Okay, so this is now going to get elements from my weapon. So I don't actually need it to shoot its weapon. I just need elements on the weapon. So I've got radiation, I've got viral, and I've got heat. Okay, furthermore, I've also got puncture and I've got impact. That also does carry over. So if I go and just show you really quickly, just by me standing next to an enemy, you can see it will proc 1 of all of those. If I get lucky, we'll see an electric proc. Move away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if I go again, and look how often it procs. Very effortless. Very, very effortless. Well, that's 5 statuses, isn't it? Well, doesn't Lycus reset of 5 statuses and just increase? Well, that's easy. Now I've just got Lycus Hunt infinitely. Okay, up until a maximum of 60 seconds. All right, so that can't go over 60 seconds, but that's now maxed out. All I need to go and do is just get a companion or get something else like a primer weapon or whatever you want to go and do, and just use it as a way to increase your Lycus. Okay, now we'll also go ahead and say on this build we want a few other things. Synth Deconstruct also works with the whole equilibrium synergize. If you think about it, enemies injured by companions, even if this companion did 1 damage, just 1, when the enemy dies, there's 25% chance for it to drop a health orb. I'll take that. It synergizes really, really well. Now, there is something else you can go and run on this. Normally, my build would look like this, but it's currently bugged. I'm just going to throw it out there. If it's not bugged, run that instead, okay? Because this also synergizes what you're doing. This gives cold procs, and those cold procs also apply the proc because it's a preset mod. See what I'm saying? So you've now got these, and they're both 10 meters. That's 10 meters. That's 10 meters. You see how it all comes together? It's bugged at the minute. Anyways, hopefully when it's not bugged, you'll be fine. And you might be thinking, why is it bugged, or what is bugged on it? It leaves like clouds behind. When those, it's supposed to leave a cloud, but the cloud's supposed to disappear after an X amount of time. It's not leaving. If it doesn't leave a cloud behind, it's not bugged. You're good to go. Okay. Anyways, furthermore, let's go ahead and go now bounce back to the build so you can understand like what's going on with Lycus and how Lycus fits in here, because again, it doesn't hurt the strength, all of that stuff. We can reset it. We're going to need a few other things. So let's go and talk about something else. Let's go and talk about weapons real quickly. So we got the Trumna, and you might be thinking, well, why Trumna? Now I'm going to tell you, before I even get into the build of Trumna and Sporelacer and explain what these are, I'm going to tell you 2 things. If you don't know what weapon to run here, okay, you can run whatever melee weapon you want to. It doesn't matter. Run any melee. Ideally, if you can run melee influence melees, that's good. Remember that, melee influence melees. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But for the running gunning, you might be thinking, well, what do I run? Here's your 2 parameters to ask yourself. Can it headshot on like free will? So when you aim and shoot and you're going to guarantee that, can it headshot because you get energy orbs from it? And if it can't, and can it do AoE and kill lots of enemies? This is where Trumna comes in as an example. So Trumna is like a giant, like heavy machine gun, if you will. So when I shoot it, it's just like da 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 da, but it's going to be single target. But again, very easy to control. I can hit enemies, kill them with headshots. I can get my energy orbs back, right? So I can cast Avalanche again. What's also interesting about Trumna though, is that for every kill that I go ahead and get as well, I'm also building up a bouncing projectile. Now this is really good, because I'm debuffing enemies and removing their resistances, so they ain't got armor, which now makes this very, very easy for me to go ahead and build this up. I don't have to kill with headshots. That's not what that says. If I kill her with a headshot, it helps my Lycos Hunt. But with this, I can just shoot anywhere. I can shoot him in the toes if I want to. The toes, guys, the toes. Stop saying that. So you can go and shoot them there, right? Which is fine. But it's very easy to go and build this up when enemies have no resistances against you. So furthermore, we're going to go and get some scaling damage because we're going to be doing lots of elements over here. Some scaling multi-shot, some fire rate with punch through, because keep in mind, again, it's single target in terms of the left click, but the alt fire is like a giant radial, so we're going to increase the blast radius to make it hit more enemies. Criticals, you might see where we're going with this, because I was talking about the criticals. If they're frozen cold, yeah, they take increased critical damage. I'm running criticals here. I have the critical augment, and I'm going to show you the other criticals that I'm using with Avenger and Combat Discipline. You see how critical comes together now. And then I'm also running viral and heat innately. So primary frostbite, just go and read that real quickly. On cold status effects, 3% critical damage and 2.2 multi-shot for 12 seconds stacks up to 40%. I'm getting even more critical. Might see where we're going with all of this. Now, what's interesting about that, if you read what it says on cold status effect. It didn't say that the weapon had to do cold status effect. Oh, no. It just said, so long as the thing that it's dealing with has got cold, we're fine. Frost is doing cold, which means I'm getting free multi-shot and free critical damage. Let's quickly go over here really quickly, okay? This is where this now comes in. Combat Discipline as well. Whenever I take... this also works on Overguard currently. Maybe in the future they might change it, who knows, but it works on Overguards. Whenever I kill an enemy, I take 10 health damage. So that means it will take 10 Overguard health damage, which for me is fine. Don't care, right? But whenever I go ahead and take damage, there is a 21% chance that I get 45% critical chance. Final critical chance. Might see how this is all now coming together, right? We're getting lots of critical. We're getting critical from this and this. Well, sorry, we're getting critical from that, proccing into that. We're getting critical from this. We're also debuffing them with the Avalanche and applying cold stacks, which is also now giving us critical. We're also then going to be running a weapon that Arcane also gives us critical. And we're also got some critical over there, okay? You know, so let's go ahead and just show you what that looks like. Here, like as a brief kind of demonstration. Now, I do want you to go and pay attention. I will not armor strip them in the first cast, okay? So please go and keep that in mind. That is not going to happen because, again, I need to keep my... What is going on here? I need to go ahead and get 20 stacks. Oh, sorry, I need to go and get a couple stacks first before I can armor strip. But again, it's every 15 seconds. So if you don't see it like right now, see how I didn't armor strip? It's fine. I cast again, but once this, now I'm going to press escape. Once this is now built up, for every 15 seconds or so, I will be casting. Odds are I'm going to be running around just nuking everything, casting, debuffing it. Even if I don't kill him, my allies will kill him. Yeah, you know? Even if I'm playing solo, I'll just turn around and kill him as well. I'll nuke him with the Trumna, because you're about to see how that works. So this is going to be very easy. In the simulacrum, you can see it's a bit crap. You know, but in real life, in an actual representative, this is going to be great. And as you can see, primary frostbite also procced, which is multi-shot and cold. Multi-shot and critical damage. That was very easy, right? So now what would happen is I would need to build this up a little bit, so I need a couple of shots because my galvanizer isn't built up. But you can see how easy that is to kill them. And then these ones, I just go and nuke them like that. Lovely jubbly. Who cares, right? So the way that would now work, if I bring that all together, is I would go and keep Lycos Hunt open. I would go ahead and freeze. Again, if I was in mission, I would only need to cast that once. I then go ahead and just kill these guys. I can land a headshot too if I need some energy. And then I go and nuke. Good stuff. Okay, good stuff. Now, the only other thing that I may want to go ahead and do, if you see here in the bottom right, I don't have the full 60 seconds on the Lycos Hunt, so sometimes I might want to go and just move just a little bit closer for my Die Rigger, just proc just a little bit, and I'm good to go. Okay, that's on the running gun setup. Now, I'm also going to show you over here as well. You can also go and use something like a kick gun. You might be thinking, well, why a kick gun? Why is this important? Well, first of all, secondaries get secondary shiver. So enemies that are per cold status effect, if they're completely frozen on Avalanche, they take 10 cold procs, and this will give you 450% damage basically for free shooting that enemy. Well, good stuff, right? So that works. But here's the thing. Pack Seeker is whenever you go and kill an enemy on a headshot kill, 4 projectiles will burst out and seek heads of nearby enemies. And yeah, you might be thinking, wait, does that work with Leica's Hunt? Yes, it does. We tested it. Like, methodically, we tested it. And it also works there. So, funny enough, this synergizes. And what was the 2 parameters that I told you guys? Can you headshot on free will, which you can with Sporelacer, and you're going to need a bit of an AoE weapon to go ahead and kill. See how it works? It all kind of comes together, all right? So that's kind of your 2 parameters there. Now, you might also be thinking, well, hang on a second, what about melee then? And how does that now work? So I did go and say, again, you're going to want a melee influence setup. So just really quickly about what's going on here is melee influences. Whenever you go ahead and land electric status, you'll spread elements over towards other enemies. Do keep in mind though, that's not physical elements, that's just elements. So IPS is not going to go and transfer over. But when we go and look at the build and what I'm going to be doing with the build, whenever I go and hit an enemy anyways, so long as I've got a good amount of status, look how much, 154%, and it will scale with weeping wounds. So I'm getting a good amount of status. For those who don't know and how status works when it goes over 100%, if I have 101, let's say I have 120% status, why am I saying that? I have 154% status. When I hit once, I'm guaranteed, in that one hit, I'm guaranteed 1 element with a 54% chance of 2 elements proccing. Does that make sense? Okay, so now if I was 250% chance, guaranteed 2, 50% chance to go ahead and get free. You get the idea, right? But when you hover over this, you're gonna now read this. This is what we call weighting, right? Basically, you need electric to be the highest out of all of these. Okay, now you can do this with a Riven if you want to, or you can put 160 mod in here with 190 mods. You're guaranteeing the fact that you've now got an increase to electric being weighted, because again, we need electric to proc in order to go ahead and get everything else proccing over. So what we're going to go and do now is we're going to use electric for damage and killing and all of that good stuff, and we're also going to be using the gas on top of it. Now gas and electric both do dot, which is a galvanized elementus comes in, and as you can see it says status damage. It's an 80% status damage increase, so for every tick of damage that they're doing, they get a 80% increase on top of that tick of what they're doing. Now this only works again slash heat, electric, toxin, and gas. On blast, it also works on blast, but blast isn't a tick. Blast is more like a delay. It's a little bit different, but that's basically how it works. Only works on those elements. So if you're like, oh, I'll run corrosive, it's not helping you with corrosive. That's not what's going on, okay? So then I'm also going to be running the faction mods. Now, again, you might be thinking, oh god, I don't want to run a faction mod. You don't have to, okay? Simple as that. I'm not going to force it on you. Just this double dips. All right, so it adds way more damage to what I'm doing. Okay, scaling, okay, and then just elements and so forth. Right, so if I showed you what that now looked like as well, if I wanted to go for more of a melee setup, it'd look a little bit like this as well. I go and apply Leica's Hunt, I go and press 4, I go and hit these enemies, I go ahead and apply when it procs. Sure, why not? That's not quite what I was looking to go ahead and do, but that gives you an idea, okay? Now, melee influence, again, is going to be that percentage chance to go ahead and proc on electric, so don't expect it to proc all of the time. Sometimes it's going to be RNG'd like I was there, but when it does go ahead and then hit, it will start nuking things and so forth. And again, very easy to go and get Leica's, because what you're doing with your weapon is IPS plus 2 other elements, okay? So the odds are you will keep Leica's up at all times. So if you run and gun, Trumna, Sporelacer. If you want to go melee influence builds. Now you might be thinking again, just real quick on an enemy solo, what am I running? Just real quick, attack speeds, combo duration, and base status chance. You can run Naramon as well if you want to, that's totally fine. And if you are running melee influence, you might be thinking, well, I don't need this because you're not going criticals. You don't have to go criticals if you run a melee influence, all right? You can take this stuff out if you want to. You don't need critical routes for it. Whatever. Anyways, it just helps your base hits at this point, all right? But you can go ahead and take that. So, my goodness, that's that build. Let's go ahead and quickly just show the Avalanche zone build, and I'm going to put some gameplay on the screen with the Archon Shards. So the zone build, just really quickly, as you can see, it's relatively the same as the roam build, but I'm going to be using Energize in here because I'm going to be casting snow globes a bit more often. This is basically going to allow me to defend objectives, all right? I'm going to go and put a snow globe here, I'm going to avalanche there, I'm going to snow globe here, I'm going to avalanche there. And when I'm doing all of that, I'm also going to be putting a dispensary down to make sure that I'm gonna be okay. But as you can imagine, the extra pickup chance is 9% because it's lower, okay? The good thing is though, Arcane Ice Storm with the duration increase actually helps Dispensary last a bit longer, okay? And it will also go ahead and help the strength go up by an extra 40, so it's only 80%. So we take a 20% deficit, all right? Either way though, it's still gonna help, okay? Equilibrium, everything else is still the same. Growing power, because I'm just gonna help my teammates or help my allies. And again, I'm gonna protect people and look after them and so forth, all right? So again, very same builds, same concepts, way different play styles. Does that make sense? Cool, excellent. So those are the 2 builds. Hopefully they help you. So real quick here's the shards, and I'm going to go and talk about this, and I'm going to leave some gameplay on the screen, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap it on up, all right? So the shards real quick, I want to go and talk about what I have here. Start off with casting speeds. Now, there's a lot of like, you want to go and get animations done, and you're going to be spamming really long animations like Avalanche. I will tell you guys this real quickly. Avalanche either has a cap on casting speed or has diminishing returns on casting speed. I don't know the answer. I've tested it and I'm really confused why, if I run Madarai with the power transfer and if I run Natural Talent with these 2, my overall cast doesn't speed up. That's 100%, by the way. Madarai plus Natural Talent's 100%. On top of 70%, 75%, it would half it easily. Like, it doesn't. So there's a cap on it. I don't know what the cap is. But anyways, I'm going to run these 2 at least for now. Maybe it's 50%, who knows. But anyway, I'll run these 2. Then I'm going to go for energy, because again, I'm going to be storing a lot of energy. I'm going to be casting a lot of avalanches. Any kind of energy returns is also going to be nice. So use the Azores for energy. And then I'm also going to have some starting energy. The starting energy is just going to allow me to go ahead and press my second ability, whether it be Dispensary or Lycos Hunt, and then go ahead and cast an Avalanche for Overguard and Debuff. Straight off of the rip, I'm good to go. Like, I'm now a valid Warframe the moment I start any mission. Okay, these shards are really, really good. So now it's entirely up to you as to what else you want to go run in here. Do you need to go and run all of these Talforge? No, this is just a flex. All right, and even then it's not really a flex, but you get the idea. That's basically what's going on there. Anyways, enough about me. Gameplay up on the screen right now, and as you can go and see, I'm going to be showing off the roam build, and you can now see what the Trumna looks like when it's all kind of combined and everything's put together. Your overall concept is going to keep your Lycos Hunt open and up. Keep in mind, if you kill enemies affected by 5 or more statuses, it will keep Lycos Hunt active for a lot longer. Now, if it does go and drop, thankfully, it's not the end of the world, it's a small cast. But if you do want energy returns from it, you need to go and land headshots. So do remember, only every so often when you need the energy, just land a couple of headshots, get the energy orb, and then off you go. The conversions, even if you kill a couple of enemies, or if your companion with Synth Deconstructs hits the enemies for the health orbs, you can also go and get energy as well. So you'll get a good amount of energy return, all right? Which is great because we want to go and cast Avalanche, and as you can see, we freeze all of the enemies, and then we can nuke all of the enemies absolutely effortlessly. And when I tell you it's effortless, I cannot explain how effortless it actually is. It feels like quite a dull build, but sometimes the dull builds are the best builds because it means that there's almost very little inherent flaws going into the build. I'm struggling to find like where this build is going to have like a big problem. Maybe like particular bosses or bossing, but even then, that's mostly about it, right? If you go ahead against the Acolytes, you'll also go and nuke them with the Trumna, so don't worry about it. Just cast 4, middle click, they're gone, okay? Which is lovely. And if you go for the melee version of the gameplay, you'll also still be fine. Just melee influence on top of it. I won't lie to you though, if you're melee influencing, if you're doing it good enough and whatnot, you barely even need to cast your 4. But I'm just going to let you know that it does go ahead and synergize with Lycos, but you'll end up storing so much energy that you'll be like, I don't know what to do with this. So this is why I prefer to run and gun with him rather than melee with him. But if you do melee with him, you've just got near enough like constant overguard and endless energy, which is huge. All right, so that's how that all works. Anyways, let's go and bring you guys back here. I'm going to be done yapping. Wow, what a video right there. So this is my updated Frost build 2024 going into 2025. Should all be fine. All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, if you did like it, please go and leave a like. If you think that someone else out there would enjoy a Frost build like this or wanted to learn something new about Frost, share the video. If you've got any like feedback, comments, reviews, anything else like that, or what your Frost builds are, let me know. It's always nice to go and see what other people are running alternatively. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll be catching you guys again in the next video.